So I have had the opportunity to be with some incredible people in my life that I think are just rock solid. And all of us are looking for heroes. And all of us are looking for people that we can set a compass and say, okay, there's true north. And we have to set our compass on not people, but on the things that and God that will help us keep true north. But when we see people that can weather any storm, we should emulate them. We should learn everything we can about them because they teach us you can make it. And as we begin to go through tougher waters and stronger storms, I will tell you that it is more important than ever that we start looking for people that inspire us. The gentleman that is sitting in our studios and will be on TV tonight, and you need to meet his wife and his family and him. He's sitting in our studios right now for radio. When I first heard his story, I couldn't. I think it's in the Marcus Luttrell kind of category myself because of the way he handled it, and quite honestly, his wife is equally as impressive. His name is Captain Sam Brown. He is an Army Ranger. He was hit by an IED in Afghanistan, and he was set on fire. I'm going to let him tell the story. But I want you to know that this guy is exactly what you're looking for, I believe, in a politician. He is running now, fortunately for me, unfortunately, if you live outside of the state of Texas, he is running to be the state representative from House District 102 in North Dallas. So again, good for me and good for the state of Texas, but I wish we had him in Washington, D.C. The primary is on March 4th, and you can find out all about him at brownfortexas.com. I wanted to bring Sam in this morning, and then we'll have a conversation with his family tonight at 5 o'clock on TV. But I really wanted him to tell his story about what happened to him as he was serving his country. Sam, how are you, sir?
Glenn, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let's start back. You join the Army. You become a Ranger, infantry officer, and you're in a Humvee.
I am. To finish painting the picture, I'm in Kandahar, Afghanistan in the dead heat of summer, and so the days are oftentimes peaking at 130 degrees. And you can imagine being in a Humvee with no air conditioning, wrapped in your armor. And I get the call from a classmate of mine from West Point that his platoon was being ambushed, and they happened to be just a few kilometers north of my platoon. And after hearing the update, I asked him if he needed support, and he said affirmative. And so I very quickly began to move out a portion of my platoon to go support them against the fight they were in.
So you're driving to help your friend?
I am, and it's the life lesson here is we don't necessarily see the adversity, as it turns out to be. And so I think I'm driving into a fight. Little do I realize that I'm about to hit the roadside bomb that's going to alter the course of my life. And so in the moment that we're entering into the fray, this bomb just rips through my Humvee. And unfortunately, it left Private Vincent Winston killed in action. And me and the other 3 troops in my vehicle were burned. And that was as you can imagine, it was a life-defining moment in more ways than one.
I know. I mean, I swear to you, talking to all of you guys, like talking to Marcus Luttrell, is a chore because you never want to. You don't tell your own story well because you're all too humble. So I'm going to drag it out of you, Sam. But as I said to Marcus, you don't have to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. Anything, but I mean, I've heard you tell this story before. And I really want you to tell the story. You are sitting, if I'm not mistaken, you're sitting in the back of the Humvee where all of the diesel fuel is. And so the diesel splashes you're covered in diesel fuel.
No, that's right. And I mean, look, I guess the reason that most of us probably don't like to get into the details of our stories, it's oftentimes not because it hurts us, but because others have suffered so much more than us. And so I don't want to glamorize my pain at all, but the reality is,
let me just. This is. I want you to watch this tonight at 5:00, or if you have the Blaze, go online right now. Sam is a good-looking man. He was, he was classic good looks and everything else, but he no longer looks that way. He was horribly burned, and so when he says, others have suffered much more, I beg to differ with you, Sam. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people have suffered, but you have taken a massive hit for the country. Well, so you were. Go ahead.
Well, it's one reason why I can't really, and I choose not to complain about it, and why it's difficult for me to describe it in negative terms is because it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. And what I mean by that is that, yes, I burned bad, Glenn. I was covered in diesel fuel. I couldn't put it out. The truth is, a man is close to death when they're screaming for two things and only two things, and that's their God and their mother. When you hear a man screaming for his mom and she's nowhere to be found, he's near death. And so that's where I was. I mean, that was the reality of that moment. And I was ready, and I had mentally embraced the fact that my life was about to cross from this one into the next one.
You tried to put yourself out. I mean, it sounds so silly, but you stop, drop, and roll. You tried to throw sand on yourself, but you were covered in fuel. And I have heard the description of burning to death as drowning, except you're drowning not in water, but in fire. Right.
It was, it's an unbelievable experience in the most negative way. But what I found in this moment was I found my God, and two, it gave me a new purpose in life. It redefined for me the things that were important. Up to that point, the things that were important were taking care of troops, accomplishing a mission, surviving that day, and all those things sound great and they're still important, but life post September 4th of 2008, I sum it up as the life I live is not my own. And so that can look like a lot of things, but now my life is not about Sam Brown and the next step in my career. It's about how do I serve other people.
So you wake up, did you wake up in San Antonio, or take me from Kandahar briefly through, the beginning stages of realizing that you are alive and what your life is going to be like in the hospital? What happened?
Well, I was conscious for probably about 6 hours after the IED hit our vehicle. And so I very acutely and still distinctly remember all of those sensations, the conversations that we had, the bullets that were flying past us, the mortar rounds impacting the area, the flight back. In fact, in this recent movie, Lone Survivor, portraying Marcus's experience, the scenes of him being loaded up on the Black Hawk, flying out, really kind of took me back to that moment. And so I remember.
Were you able to get? You weren't able to move or get up or fight? Were you?
Oh, well, my weapon was gone. It was becoming a piece of molten metal in the vehicle. So I was not fighting, but you better believe I was moving. I was.
How did you go through that pain? How much? What percentage of your body is skinless at that point?
30% of my body was third-degree burns, and so thank God for the body armor, because that really saved my core, my chest and back and.
My gosh.
And
so you are fighting. You get back on the helicopter. They put you in an induced coma, do they not?
That's right. So they do eventually put me into an induced coma, and about 2 weeks later, I wake up in San Antonio. It was that was the beginning of a journey.
Now here's the best part, and this is why I want you to join us tonight at 5. This is where the love story begins. What happens in the hospital?
Well, as life would have it, when I was at my lowest, least manly point in life, I mean, literally, I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't bathe myself. Essentially taken back to a childlike state. I met a woman who served in the Army and worked in the burn unit, and her name was Amy Larson at the time. And my mother had come down and lived with me, took care of me for 6 months in and out of the hospital. And at the end of 6 months, it was time for her to go back home. My family was living in Virginia at the time. And this Amy Larson had become a friend of mine over the course of those few months. And she really picked up the baton, and in the ways that I couldn't continue to take care of myself, she just picked it up and ran with it and loved me when really I had a hard time accepting who I was physically. And frankly, Glenn, I never thought that I would ever get married or have a family because of my disfigurements.
I will tell you, Sam, that I have pondered you since we've met a lot, because I know a lot of people in my own personal life that are facing disabilities. They're facing, their own crosses, nowhere near what you have had to face. And it's easy for people to think, well, I'm done, or I just have to endure this to the end, or, I'm not going to find happiness. I'm not going to find a spouse. I'm not going to live the life that everybody else has. And honestly, I have said to a couple of people that I know, I want you to look up Sam Brown, and you tell me that you're worse off than he is. Because if you can tell me you're worse off than he is, well, then we can sit down and have another conversation. But I know you're not. And so tell me how he's living a happy life. Tell me how he's found love. This is not the story where your wife married you when you were a good-looking man and you were like, gosh, and then she got used to it.
Right.
This is a woman who found and saw beyond your skin. This is the ultimate woman, quite honestly, Sam. She's a miracle.
She really is. Literally, she first laid eyes on me when I was in the hospital, in the ICU specifically, with the breathing tube down my throat, a feeding tube in my nose, tubes in other places, taking care of other businesses, and I was wrapped almost from head to toe in bandages. All you could really see were my eyes, and that was how she discovered me.
It's amazing with everything you've gone through that you're still able to be here today, while other people who are going through things decided to stay home and didn't even come in.
Don't you hate those people?
It's like these people are the worst.
Yeah, I know.
No toughness at all. They're just
at
home in bed or something, doing their job.
And what sucks about those people? Usually those people are like the employer.
Yeah, no.
And they can cut your salary off in a heartbeat.
I hadn't considered that part of it.
Yeah, you might want to rethink that. Back with Sam Brown. I want you to watch tonight, and I also would love for you to go to brownfortexas.com. He is running for to be the state rep from House District 102 in North Dallas, and he desperately needs your support. And, well, he doesn't desperately need it. I'm desperate to have you support him. But I will tell you that he's the kind of guy that we need in the country, we need in Texas. If we lose Texas, we lose the country forever. And that is not an overstatement. That is not hyperbole. That's why they're working so hard, the progressives, to take Texas. We've got to have guys like Sam Brown. I don't care where you are, but we've got to have people like Sam Brown in the House here in Texas. And I'm going to introduce you to some other people. Even if you live in Minnesota, understand, as goes Texas, so goes the country. So check Sam Brown out. We are talking to, I believe, somebody as remarkable as they come. Sam Brown. He is running to be the state representative from House District 102 in North Dallas. I will tell you, I don't endorse candidates, but I will tell you everything I know about Sam Brown. He is exactly the kind of person that I am looking for in character. And that is probably the most important thing. When you can have politicians on both sides look you square in the eye and lie to you, we've got a character deficit in our country, and we need real leaders. This election affects you because if we lose Texas, we lose the country. So he's running. His primary is March 4th. Sam, I haven't seen the polls. I don't follow that kind of stuff. Really, Stu does. How are the polls? Tell me about your race. Tell me why you want to run.
Well, Glenn, first of all, I'm running because I feel like we've really lost people of character, people who are running for a greater reason than self-promotion or a desire for power. And, it's about time that folks that go down there with an agenda of just doing the right thing take that step out there. And so, me running is really a lot greater than just me running. It includes my wife. It includes my family. And so in many ways, I'm running for them. I mean, I've served the country in uniform. I've come back, started the family. We've got the 2 small kiddos and now a business owner. And I thought, who else to better represent me and most of us, frankly, for that matter. I mean, most of us are impacted by either, kids in schools or whether, we're an employer or an employee, we're affected by that. And so who better to represent us than someone like me? And I want my kids to have a bright future. I want Texas to continue to be the greatest place in this country. And like you, I'm not from here, but you would never get me out of here. It'll literally take an act of God to get me out of Texas. And
yeah,
so
I will tell you. I mean, when we moved down here. I mean, I'm sure Pat and Stu remember. This isn't why we moved here, but it's why Texas was first on the list of places. Because Pat, you remember we were on the air and we saw the story.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
the story of El Paso. That you could not tell the true history of the Alamo in Texas. That you had to present it from a neutral side. You had to take into consideration Mexico's feelings in the whole thing, and
they were starting to image this as a racist event.
Yeah,
which it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, the flag that they were fighting under said 1820. Was it 1824? And that was to represent the Constitution with Mexico for the people. They were fighting for the people of Mexico. And I looked at Pat. I don't know if we said this on the air, but I looked at Pat and I said, we may have to move down to Texas because if we lose Texas, we're done. And do you believe that, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Texas has a rich history of folks moving here from across the country because they believe in what it stands for and the opportunity that is here. And I'm proud to say both of my children are native Texans. I can't change the fact that I'm not, but we're here now, and we've got a vested interest in making sure that Texas stays on the right course.
What are the biggest things? Tell me, you become the state rep. What does that mean to me? Why should I vote for you?
You should vote for me because I've got a vested interest in this community. There's other politicians that are literally just professional politicians that are looking for the next thing. I'm not looking for a lily pad to take a step to the next office. I love my community. I love this state. I've got kids that are going to be going to schools here. I've got the business that is impacted by the way that
Sam, you know that we have. Sorry to interrupt. We have such little time, and I want to ask you. We have a state where the Republicans, some of them, can be just as bad as the Democrats. I'm speaking at the Parker County Reagan dinner this weekend, and the GOP asked if I would speak, and I said, "You don't want me to speak." This is like a year ago. You don't want me to speak, and they said, "Oh yes, we do." And I said, "No, you don't, because I will quite honestly castrate you." Because I'm done with the Republican Party. And they said, we know. That's why we want you to speak. There are those Republicans that are part of the problem and those who aren't. You look at Common Core here in Texas. They said no to Common Core, but then the Republicans went in and put something else in that was basically Common Core.
Right.
How do you suppose you're going to navigate these waters and keep your soul?
It's obviously not an easy thing. Otherwise, we'd have people that are doing it. But I think just like going into battle, it's all about preparation. And what you do in battle in my case in Afghanistan, and what we are going to have to do in Austin is you surround yourself by people that you want to be in a foxhole with. You surround yourself with people that are be there for you when you're tired, people that are going to pray for you. I've received so many emails or been told by so many people, Sam, we're praying for you. And that's what I need the most. Certainly campaigns need contributions and money to, get things in the mail and, get a message out. But I need the Lord. I need people praying for me for wisdom. And when you surround yourself with those people, when our flesh is weak, we can be encouraged and kept on the right track. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question, because I want the audience to know that you understand the progressive movement and everything else. When you were in the hospital, I was told that you made an appointment in San Antonio at 4 p.m. every day, and you were watching what we were laying out every day.
I was. I would get done with therapy, and you were a tutor of mine for those 3 years of recovery.
And what was the most important thing you learned, Sam, from that?
Probably that not everything is as it seems, and we can't take people at their word, especially in the political process. People will say and do anything to retain power, to retain influence, and it's I hate to say it, but I believe there's even those that espouse real conservative values that are just saying that because that's what their voters want to hear, and that's how they retain power. I mean, Texas is an incredible state, but there are folks that have agendas other than what they profess.
I want you to go to the website brownfortexas.com. I'm going to be introducing you to several people in Texas that are going to need your support. Some of them are already in office, but they're going to need your support, and we'll explain as we go. But the left has mobilized against Texas, and they've done it for a reason. If you take away the electoral votes in Texas and you turn this state into a blue state, you never, ever get the country back. This is why immigration is happening. All of this stuff is happening because they've got to turn the elections and they've got to turn Texas blue. Texas must remain deep red and not Republican, but independent. There is the greatest thing about Texas is the Texas spirit that, come on down. We're not going to bother you. You don't bother us. Come on down. Let's just work together. Let's be good neighbors. Let's stay out of each other's faces. Let's keep Texas free, and we will pop through. And look at Texas is leading the way for the rest of the country. Texas is the only one that really hasn't had to have a recovery. It is still, I can't count the number of houses that are being built in my neighborhood. And it's because Texas didn't have to worry about a recovery. We kept moving forward, and that's because we're free. I also want you to meet Sam and his wife tonight at 5 o'clock. They're actually going to be coming over to my house. We're going to be broadcasting kind of in a more intimate setting at my house tonight. So I would like you to watch 5 p.m. Eastern at theblaze.com, theblaze.com/TV if you haven't subscribed, or you can find it on a growing number of satellite and cable systems, thanks to you. Sam, we'll talk to you and your wife a little later today. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet. brownfortexas.com.